My name is JB with Ride JBI. I'm here today with Ryno. We've been working on the 2021 Honda CRF450 together, trying to dial in the suspension settings. To give you a quick rundown of what we've done so far, Ryno rode the bike stock for about a week. All we did was try different clicker settings to kind of see what we could achieve. After that, Ryno was able to get some firmer springs for the forks and the shock. We put those on and he rode the bike for about another week, and we just did some more clicker tuning then. And then most recently we did some actual valving work on the forks and shocks, and he's been riding on it for about a week and a half. So Ryan, please give your insight on just how the bike has progressed so far and what areas we're working on next to further improve what we got.
Yeah, well, of course, you know, Honda's always been my favorite brand, and this is why I ride the Honda, is because it's my favorite brand and I always feel the best on it. But this year, the 450 had a little bit of suspension issues. The chassis works great, the engine works great, but the suspension was a little bit soft, so we had a lot of movement in it. So every time that I hit something, it would go through the stroke so much more, so there was more movement that needed to happen, so it was exaggerating everything that the bike was doing around the track, because these motorcycles don't need to move that much. Also, when I wanted to be aggressive, that back end would sink down because it was too slow, and I'd get this wallowy effect going through sweepers. Coming in the corners, I brake really hard, and so my front end would dive down and it would stay down, and I can't ride that way. Then I'm always in a pushback. If I'm always in a pushback, then my arms are tight and I exaggerate everything the motorcycle's doing, and usually end up with an arm pump. So I was complaining to Hoodie, and he's like, hey, well, JB over here, he does suspension. I said, really? So we started talking a little bit about this and about that, and he's like, hey, let's try this and try that. And we did, and we started making slow progression, and so now we have the shock about Supercross setting, pretty stiff, and the forks were good, but then it's still a little soft for me, so we're gonna have to make another change to stiffen up the end of the stroke. Because once I stiffen up the end of the stroke, I can keep my front end up, and then it doesn't feel like it's diving, and if I hit any mud, if I hit a rut, or if I hit anything soft, it's not gonna exaggerate that and make the front end tuck. So I'd like to keep my front end up a little bit, and so that's what we're gonna do, is probably adjust the front a little bit and see if we can get it to match the rear. And then my next thing would go to the next stage. How stiff can we make this with it still working good, so we don't have a lot of movement in this bike? And I think that would fix all the issues with the Honda.
Awesome feedback, man, and that's a wrap for right now, so we'll keep you guys in the loop as we further develop this new bike.